To be honest, the thing that troubled me most in elementary school was whether to apply to Tsinghua University or Peking University. I seriously thought about this question. Do the characters for Tsinghua have wood or water in them? They're very green, very soothing. But the characters for Peking University are all horizontal and vertical strokes, like thorns too sharp and edgy. I don't like that. When I was in middle school, I didn't even know you had to take an exam to get into university. I always thought it was just like middle school, that there would be a nearby university as a safety net. So I had already prepared myself to attend Soochow University. It wasn't until just before the high school entrance exam results came out that I learned vocational high schools existed. When I found out I was going to one, I was devastated. I pictured vocational high school like those youth movies, where bullies would even fight teachers in class. For someone like me who got beaten up back in elementary school, would the school bully make me wash his underwear? Would he use a cigarette to burn a tic-tac-toe pattern on my butt for fun? That would be great. After my mom and I finished choosing the school and went home, she was relieved I had a school to attend. I went back to my room, hugged my backpack, crying. I thought this was the last time my backpack held textbooks. And when I started vocational high school, wouldn't I have to smuggle contraband for the school bullies? But later I realized it wasn't that bad everyone just had lower grades, but they were actually pretty nice people. My grades in early high school were bottom. It wasn't until my third year that we received a list of colleges we could apply to. When I looked at it, not only was Soochow University not on the list, but neither was Tsinghua. The best university we could get into was one I had never even heard of. At that moment, I suddenly realized that the best schools we could apply to were probably ones that regular high school students wouldn't even consider. I felt that there was nothing wrong with my intelligence. I wasn't any worse than they were. So I spent a whole semester relearning everything, going back to the dorm to study under a desk lamp. And in the end, I still managed to get into the school with a top 10 ranking in my class. Plus, with my status as a top 100 student for 2 or 3 years, I should really be considered an honorary alumnus of this vocational high school. Later, after graduating from college, I remember those articles I read as a kid about how a village finally produced a college graduate. Honestly, I felt my future was full of promise. I returned to my hometown with my bachelor's degree certificate and my diploma in management. What did I study in college? Import and export trade, the 4 Ps of marketing, SWOT analysis, and Coca-Cola's marketing strategies. At the time, I thought that for a third-tier county-level city, these 2 certificates should at least be enough to pull off some kind of financial scam. But unexpectedly, even with connections, the only job I could get was selling car insurance, selling those kinds of auto insurance policies that normal people don't even need. It really was financial fraud. I was in charge of the fraud part, and he was in charge of the finance part. I worked there for 3 months, but since I didn't make any sales, I got fired. After that, I did a bunch of other sales jobs one after another, but none of them worked out, so I just stayed at home. During that time, I was drifting aimlessly at home. My dad came to encourage me. He said, a real man should have ambitions beyond his hometown. Son, I love you. Whatever you want to do, I'll support you. I said I wanted to start my own business. My dad said no. I said I wanted to be a content creator. My dad said that was out of the question too. He said his love for me was only enough to support me becoming an honorable chemical plant lab technician. I don't like the words chemical engineering or those horizontal and vertical strokes, just like the characters for Peking University, and I don't like Peking University. I said, Daddy, 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 your son has outstanding charisma and could be an idol, has a sweet voice and could be a singer, is witty and humorous and could be a host, has soft, plump hips like a pot of succulents anyway. There's absolutely no way I'm going to be a lapdog for capital. At that time, my parents were really anxious about my job situation. The biggest requirement for me was just to have a steady job. Every day, they would drive me around to different factories nearby to introduce me. This one's a foreign company, that one's a joint venture, this one has good benefits, that one works in 2 shifts. To be completely honest, I was not resigned to taking off my long gown. This long gown was something I was coaxed, tricked, scolded, and beaten into wearing. It took me 16 years to put on this long gown. It was you who forced me to wear it. I could have chosen not to wear it at all. The long gown covers up my incompetence, and it also hides the unfinished game of tic-tac-toe on my backside. But when I look at the wrinkles on my parents' faces, I remember how back when I was in school, I used to say, how can a sparrow understand the ambition of a swan? The hard work I put in during the years after graduation was like straining to let out a silent fart. Not only was it quiet, it didn't even have a smell.